Hello students, today we are going to learn a new topic, sexual reproduction in plants. Sexual reproduction is the process by which two gametes combine together and produces offspring. Two parents are needed to give rise to a new individual. What are these two gametes? Male gametes and female gametes. They combine together and produce offspring. Now let us study structure of a typical flower. Why we are studying about the structure of a typical flower? The reason is that flower is the most important reproductive organ of a plant. With the help of a flower, only that reproduction occurring in plants. Here you can see that a long stalk. This long stalk is called by pedicel. And this is the outermost wall, or we can say that first wall of a flower. It is called a sepal. It is the protective organ, while that flower is a floral bud. Then come to see that second wall, it is known as petal. What is the speciality of petal? It is the beautiful, attractive part of a flower. Come to this third wall. This third wall is called stamen. What is the speciality of stamen? Stamen has two parts. This long stalk is called filament and this capsule-like structure is called anther. Inside the anther, pollen grains are present. Now come and see the fourth or innermost wall of a flower. It is called pistil. Pistil has mainly three parts. The topmost part is called stigma. What is the speciality of stigma? Stigma receiving pollen grains. Then this long tube-like structure is called style. Then come to that innermost part, this bulging part. This bulging part is called ovary. Inside the ovary, what is present? Ovules present. Now once more we will see what are the four walls of a flower. Sepal, then petal. This sepal and petal are called accessory wall of a flower. And the stamen and pistil, it is called essential wall of a flower. Now let us differentiate monoecious flower and dioecious flower. Plant bearing male and female flowers on the same plant is called monoecious flower. Now look this maize plant. Here crop roots, stalk, and here you can see that this three female inflorescence. So female flowers are present here. What is an inflorescence? Inflorescence means in a stalk a number of flowers are present. It is called inflorescence. Come and see this male inflorescence. Here male flowers are growing here. From here what do you understand? In the case of monoecious flower, so there male flowers and female flowers are separately growing in the same plant. Let us see now what is dioecious flower. Plant bearing male flowers in one plant and female flowers in another plant is called dioecious flower. Example, papaya and cycas. Here you see that here pollen cone is growing. Pollen cone means that male flowers are growing in this cycas plant and this female flower is growing in this cycas plant. This type of plants are called dioecious. Individual plants produce either pollen cones or seed cones. They are growing in separate plant. In the case of monoecious, both are growing in the same plant. Let us differentiate now unisexual flower and bisexual flowers. Flowers which contain either stamen or pistil are called unisexual flowers. Here you see that this small flower. So this is an example of a male flower. And here you can see that what is this? This is female flower. Here you can see this cucumber. So this type of flowers are called unisexual flowers. That means that each sex stamen is present in first one and pistil is present in second one. This type of flower is called unisexual flower. But in the case of bisexual flower, flowers which contain both male and female reproductive parts are called bisexual flower. Look in this flower. Here you can see that stigma. And stigma is present in female part. Here you can see that stamen. So this female part and male parts are arranged in the same flower. It is called bisexual flower. Now come and see this figure. So it is a figure of bisexual flower. Here you can see that this blue part is stamen and this red part, this is pistil. So here in this bisexual flower, male part and female part both are present in the same flower. Come and see this staminate flower. In this staminate flower, stamen is present. Like flowers are called male flowers. And come and see this pistillate flower. Pistil is present here. This type of flowers are called female flowers. The male flowers are called staminate flowers and female flowers are called pistillate flowers. Now let us study the mechanism of sexual reproduction. So what are the mechanism? First one is known as pollination. Pollination followed by fertilization. Then afterwards formation of seeds and fruits. You have to remember that after fertilization, what is happening? Ovary changes into fruits and ovules change into seeds. Then come to this, then afterwards when that fruit become mature, dispersal of seeds and fruits occurring. Then afterwards when that seeds become mature and when they are getting that proper conditions, proper warmth, sunlight, water, etc., then seed starts to germinate. Pollination, fertilization, formation of seeds and fruits, dispersal of seeds and fruits and seed germination are the mechanism of sexual reproduction. Now let us study what is pollination. The transfer of pollen grains from the anthers to the stigma of pistil is known as pollination. Pollination process is of two types, self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination takes place within the same flower or between two flowers on the same plant. Cross-pollination occurs between two flowers on two separate plants of same kind. What is pollination? Transfer of pollen grains from the anthers to the stigma of pistil is known as pollination. Now let us study in detail what is self-pollination. Here looking this first figure, here you can see that male parts and female part are present in the same flower. So here you remember that in this stamen contain pollen grains. These pollen grains reach to the pistil of this same flower. This type of pollination is known as self-pollination. Stamen reached to the pistil of the same flower. Here come and see that second figure. What is the change here? Here many flowers are there. From first flower to second flower, this pollen grains transfer. This type of pollination also called self-pollination. What is the condition? These both flowers are in the same plant itself. In the first case, in the same flower itself. Second case, different flowers but both are growing in the same plant. Self-pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma of the same flower or another flower of the same plant. Let us see advantages and disadvantages of self-pollination. Flowers need not be scented or brightly colored. They need not to produce a large number of pollen grains. There is no need of pollinating agents. It maintains purity of race. So what are the disadvantages? New varieties are not produced. Disease resistance of plants decreases. Let us study cross-pollination. See here two flowers are there. But here we have to remember that from the first flower, let us see stamen. From this stamen, pollen grains travels to pistil of the another flower. But what is the condition? Both flowers are of same kind or same species. And come and see here also from second flower to first flower. That means pollen grains transferred from pollen grains of the first plant to the second plant, but both are in the same species. Cross-pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower of the same kind. Let us study now advantages and disadvantages of cross-pollination. Disease-resistant new varieties are formed. Ensures new varieties with new characters. Cross-pollination gives us disease-resistant new varieties and also they are with new characters. What are the disadvantages? It depends on pollinating agents. Flowers need to be scented and brightly colored, then only cross-pollination occurs. It's a wasteful process as pollen grains are to be produced in large number. Let us study the differences between self-pollination and cross-pollination. Self-pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from anther to the stigma of the same flower or another flower born on the same plant. Cross-pollination is the transfer of pollen grains from the anther of one flower to the stigma of another flower born on a different plant of the same species. Self-pollination does not require any external agency, but cross-pollination required. An external agent like wind, water, insect, any one agent is required. In self-pollination, both anthers and stigmas mature at the same time. In cross-pollination, anthers and stigmas mature at a different time. In self-pollination, it can occur even when the flower is closed. Cross-pollination occurs only when the flower is open. Self-pollination produces homozygous offspring. That means all the young ones are looking alike. Cross-pollination produces heterozygous offsprings. Here, that young ones are showing that some differences. In the case of self-pollination does not introduce any variations, but cross-pollination introduces variations. Let us conclude today's portion. Sexual reproduction in plants involves formation of male and female gametes, fusion of gametes and formation of seeds and fruits. The male gametes in plants are called pollen grains. Female gametes are called egg or ova. Transfer of pollen grain from male part to the stigma of female part is called pollination. Thanks.